Hey guys, in this video we are going to be talking about running ads on Amazon. And I feel like Amazon, the setup for the ads is definitely a lot easier than Facebook. But understanding the data once you start getting impressions and clicks on your ads is a lot harder than Facebook. So they each have their perks and their drawbacks. And so in this video, I'm going to show you how to set up the different kinds of ads that they have on Amazon. And there'll be a separate video showing you keywords and how to use keywords in some of these ads. So before we do that, let me pull up a screen and show you what Amazon ads actually are. Okay, so here I am just on the regular Amazon page, and I'm going to go over here and I'll just put in James Patterson because he's a famous author. And so the first thing you're going to see is all of this at the top. And this is something that's called a sponsored brand ad. This is not something we're going to be learning about. It's not available to everyone. It's really big brands, big publishing companies that have access to this. But what we're looking at are a couple of things. Number one, anything on the results page that says sponsored. So basically, there are people right now who are running ads to the keyword James Patterson. And they're bidding a certain amount to get their ads shown. And if they bid enough against everyone else, they'll show up higher as the sponsored ad. So you'll see usually a couple of sponsored ones and then some regular. And then as you go down, you'll see some more sponsored. Here's one here. Here's one here. And then some more regular. And then typically a couple more sponsored at the bottom. And there they are. So that's one way that you're going to see your sponsored keyword ads. But another way would be if you click on a book's page, you're going to see it in a few places, potentially. Usually here, sometimes here, and then not the also bots, but the sponsored products related to this item. So this one has 107 pages of people paying for advertising to be on this author's page or this book's page. And so the idea being not that you should bid so high that you don't make a profit, but that you bid competitively enough against other authors of which you don't know what they're bidding to get your book shown, hopefully on this first page, on the carousel here. Sometimes I have books where I will show up here, and first here. And I don't know how that happens. I don't know how you get these slots specifically, but at some point you may see yourself in those slots as well. So that's what we're talking about when we're talking about doing the sponsored ads. Okay, so we're back here, and this is assuming that you have already set up your Amazon advertising account, which you should be able to do pretty easily. And the first thing that you would do is you would come over here and click on the Create Campaign button. Now, when you create the campaign, you're going to be presented with two different types of ads. You have sponsored products, which is what I just showed you, and then you have lock screen ads. And these ads are shown on the lock screen of people's Kindles or Kindle Fires, and they are based on that person's interests. I don't do them. Honestly, I really don't know any authors that use lock screen ads, and I think they might even be going away. So I would avoid that. They are not profitable for most people I've talked to. So we're going to click on sponsored products. So the first thing we need to do is name our campaign. And this is really going to be up to you how you name your campaign. You want it to be something that you can easily identify when you're looking in your dashboard. You might have a lot of campaigns running at some point. I might have 20 or 30 at a time, and I need to be able to, at a glance, see which campaign that is. So let's say your book is Gone with the Wind. So maybe I put GW as to tell me, okay, this is Gone with the Wind. And then maybe I know I'm going to target, let's think, I'm going to target Stephen King for this, which of course I would not for Gone with the Wind because that's not related at all. And maybe I'm going to bid, 65 cents. So I'm just going to put whatever I think I need for my tracking here so that I can at a glance figure out which ad that is. Portfolio, you don't need to worry about until you have a lot of books in a series and you have a lot of ads running, and you can create different portfolios for different series. I only just started using them, and I don't think it's necessary to teach you about that right now. As far as your start and end date, your start date would be today. Your end date, I would leave open-ended, because if you get an ad that's working really well, you don't necessarily want it to end. Now, if you're doing this for a particular short sale that you've got going on, or you've got a new release and you're only doing this through the new release time period, then you could put an end date. But I always prefer to just leave it open-ended and manually, pause it or manually change the budgets or whatever I have to do. Now, your daily budget is going to vary. You can go as low as $1 a day. Now, obviously, if you're doing $5 a day or even $10 a day, you're probably not going to see a whole lot of movement. One of the most common problems and frustrations that authors have when using Amazon ads is getting them to spend your money. Nobody really knows what causes them to suddenly start spending your money, but I will tell you that if you do enough ads and you spend enough money over time, they will certainly spend your money. Facebook spends it regardless. Amazon, you might have a $10 a day ad going, and a week into it, you may still not have any impressions. So it's one of those things where you're constantly, a few times a week, going to need to mess around in your ads to get them moving. And then once they're moving, they can be really, really beneficial. I love doing Amazon ads. So when you're just starting out, you might want to start with a $5 a day budget, $10 a day budget, just because you're trying to learn how the system works and see what's going to work for you. So I would start low, and we'll just put $5 here. I would start low to begin with until you get used to the platform. Now, the targeting. You have a choice between automatic targeting and manual targeting. I use manual targeting, and most authors do, and this is where you're going to put in your own keywords, your own targets, but you can also do an automatic targeted ad and let Amazon try to figure out where your book belongs. What does it think your book is? And those are beneficial to try at least once or twice at the beginning, so that you can go back in and see what it was, because you can look at the reports and see what it was that Amazon was targeting your book to, and like, what do they think your book is the most like? And that will help you figure out whether your book is being relevant on Amazon. Is it getting in front of the right people? So if you have a book about gardening and you see that Amazon has been targeting at erotic romance readers, then you're going to know something's off on my product page that is causing Amazon to think that my gardening book should be shown to erotic romance readers. So you want to, maybe do that once or twice just to see what Amazon will target. But for the most part, we're going to choose manual targeting. I would not recommend touching any of the campaign bidding strategy. This can get you your money gone out of your pocket real fast. So I leave it at dynamic bids down only. And what that means is they're going to move your bids around, but they're not going to move your bid up above your cap that you're going to set here in a minute. So they'll lower your bid. So if you're bidding 75 cents a click on something and the clicks are only 45 cents, they'll lower it down. You don't want to do up or down. They'll raise your bids by a maximum of 100%. If it looks like it'll convert to a sale, and then you have fixed bids that don't change at all, pretty much everybody I know only uses down only. Now, this custom text ad, that's where you're going to write a little blurb about your book, or you can do a standard ad where your book cover shows up, but it does not, you do not have to write any kind of ad copy. Typically, I'm going to put custom text because I just want to have that other chance to sell to the reader, and I'll show you that in just a moment. All right, so now I'm going to come here, and I've got some of my stuff blurred out. And I have to choose the book or the ASIN that I want to market. So let's just say I'm going to type in my own name, because I think I probably have a book or two in here that I can use from the olden days. And let's see. Yeah, I used to have a book called Credibility Marketing. So I'm going to pretend like I'm doing that one. I have not messed with this book in years. So obviously I don't normally advertise it. And so this is where we're going to talk about targeting. You can do keyword targeting, which is what I show in the other video about how to compile your list of keywords, or you can do product targeting. And this is kind of a newer thing. Product targeting is where you could target a particular category or a particular brand. So you could come down here. This one has already figured out that that book I just showed is in the advertising category. So I could target that category, and then Amazon's going to pick and choose where to place my book within that category. I can also look under individual products, and I could search. So I could say, Seth Godin is an author. I could click on his name and pull up his books and say, I really want my book to also show up on his, This Is Marketing paperback for some reason, or Purple Cow, maybe I want it to show up there. So you can individually target that, and you can put a default bid. So this is where, like I was talking about, if your bid is 75 cents, that's saying you'll go up to 75 cents. But you'll also, if the bids are lower, Amazon will automatically pull those down. So that's what the product targeting is, but we're just going to stick with keyword targeting for this example. So now here we are, and there's a lot going on here. So let me just explain. First of all, these are just some random suggested keywords that Amazon thinks might be related to your book. And most of the time, they are not related to your book. Like if someone goes to Amazon and types in New Your, they've just misspelled something most likely. That is not a keyword we want to target. So we usually are going to leave these alone. You can filter, or you can put in keywords by broad, phrase, and exact. And this will explain to you what that means. So the broad keywords contains all the keywords in any order, including plurals, variations, and related. So if you put in steamy romance novel, that's your keyword phrase, steamy romance novel. That means if you choose to only call your keywords broad, then Amazon will pick and choose, and that means they might also show your book to someone who's looking at novel, steamy romance, because those are the same words, but they're in another order. Then you can also choose phrase match, which means it contains the exact phrase or sequence of keywords, and then exact match exactly matches the keyword or sequence of keywords. I find those two to be kind of hard to figure out. Not hard to figure out. Phrase contains it. So if your keyword is steamy romance novel, and somebody puts in 2019 steamy romance novel, that would be phrase match, because it contains that phrase, but it's not just that phrase. Whereas the exact match exactly matches that. So what I normally do is keep all three of these checked, so that no matter which way gosh, every video I do that, Amazon is looking at it, or how the customer puts it in, I'm going to be covered. You can also do different ads where you check only the broad, and then the next ad you do the exact same keywords, but you do only phrase, and then so you can do it that way. I just keep them all three checked. And then, so what we're going to be doing here is clicking on enter list. Now you can also upload a file, but typically I think most people enter a list. This is where you're going to put in all your keywords. So we could say like steamy romance novel, romance novel, romance books, 2019 romance books. Now, there's certain words you can't put in here. You can't put free, like bestseller, or I think free. There's certain keywords that they will push back on, and you can probably click here to find out what those are. Sometimes they'll even like keep you from adding them here. And I would also suggest not going with their suggested bid, and not going with I think I would just normally put the default bid, because I want all of my keywords to have the same bid. Excuse me. And then I can adjust them separately once the ad starts running and I see that I might need to adjust something down or up, then I can do it. So, because if you do suggested, what's going to happen is it's going, well, I don't want to do it because it'll mess it up, but it's going to put whatever Amazon thinks the suggested bid is, and some of them might be $1 or $2 a keyword, and that is way too high. You want to think when you're doing this about how much are you going to make on your book. So let's say your book is $3.99. It's an ebook. You make about $2.79 a sale. So obviously you don't want to be paying $1.50 a click, because a click doesn't mean a sale. You have to get so many clicks to get a sale, and that varies depending on, the book and the author and the keywords and all of that. So you want to be as low as you can. At the same time, if you bid too low, you're not even going to get in the running, and you're not going to get shown, and you're not going to get impressions or anything like that. So the default bid is typically set here at 75 cents. You can adjust that up or down. You could decide your default bid 65 cents. And you want to think about, like, if you have a standalone book, your only opportunity is to make your money on that standalone. But if you're advertising book one in a 5-book series, you need to figure out what your read through is. How many people are buying your first book and going to your second book, and then going from your second book to your third book? Like, how much you need to look at your own numbers to figure that out. And then you can kind of tell, okay, maybe I paid 75 cents for the clicks, and I made these sales, but these people are also, 60% of them are going to go to my next book. And so you've got to factor that in too when you're looking at your numbers. So then you can click on add keywords, and a lot of people want to know what is the amount of keywords you should put in. You can put up to 1,000 keywords. There are some people who put 1,000. There are some people who put 10. And there is something to be said for all of that. So you have to test, because what works for me is not going to work for you, and vice versa. So I would do some ads with a lot of keywords and some ads with very few keywords, maybe 100 keywords, maybe 200 keywords, and see what is manageable for you and see what works for you. So you can see over here what I was talking about, that the suggested bids, you can see how high they are. And you don't, now romance novel is a very broad keyword that is going to have a very high bid. But if I put something in like small town suspense, I don't even know if that's an actual keyword. Yeah, that's not one. Let's see. Let me think. Well, we'll just put small town romance and see if that pulls up. So you can see these are even high. That's really high. Most of these are not going to give you that much per click at all. So putting the 65 cents may not get you in the first slot, but it'll probably get you on the first or second page, and that's perfectly fine. You can also do negative keyword targeting, and that's where you put in a word that you don't want ads to serve to. So if you're sending out steamy, maybe you don't want clean, maybe you don't want Christian, maybe you don't want religious. So this just helps to filter out where the ads should not run. So if somebody happens to put in clean romance novel and yours is steamy, then it's not going to show your book on that one. And then you're going to come down here and it's going to show you what your creative is going to look like. And this is where you're going to type in your custom text. So you can put in learn how to make yourself appear more credible in the eyes of potential clients by writing your own book. And you can fill up that whole space. Make sure whatever you put there is something that's going to get everybody excited. Like what is going to get people excited to click and read your book when they're looking at all these other hundreds of books that are on the same page. So, and that's it. At the bottom, all you're going to do is launch your campaign. I would give it at least 24 to 48 hours, especially when you're first starting out, to even see any numbers coming up on your campaign. And then it's a matter of looking at those numbers. I'll make a separate video for that. So I will see you in the next video.